What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another TheeSportsScoop video. Just recorded our day one winners and losers, so make sure you go check that out if you haven't already. But today we're going to be looking at some of the best players available in day two of the NFL draft. Obviously, there is a lot of prospects that will be available here at day two. Obviously, every draft we see first-round talent guys fall into the second round into day two, round 2 and 3. So we'll be going over the best offensive and defensive players available. As always, make sure you like, subscribe, go check out our past videos if we posted our kind of best reactions to the draft. And yeah, let me know what you guys think. And without further ado, let's get into it with offense. And let me pull it up here. And again, best players available. As always, make sure you guys comment your thoughts down below. What did you think of day one? Who should have been taken? Make sure you guys go let me down below. But offense first, and we'll go, kind of player by player. And I think number one is Malik Willis out. And these aren't really numbers, so I wouldn't take these in order. But Malik Willis out of Liberty, only one quarterback taken, and Kenny Pickett, a guy who I don't think should have been taken that early. But Malik Willis, I think, is going to be the most sought after guy in the second round when it comes to the quarterback position. Obviously, offers a ton of mobility. And again, is definitely a project, but a guy, if he pans out, will be fantastic. Again, out of Liberty, I would, but I could actually see him fall a little bit in the second round. I think what sucks most is he was at the draft, was, in a room and ended up not being taken. So I think teams will regret it if he pans out the way he will. I think the Steelers very much could be regretting it, but they are, but Malik Willis, one of the top guys. And other quarterback, Matt Corral out of Ole Miss. Again, a guy who didn't hear much. And I thought the Seahawks, my prediction would be the Seahawks trade back into the first round and go and take him. But a guy who was very quiet. You didn't really even hear much of the Matt Corral talk here. So I would assume he goes in round 2 to one of these teams. Again, not too much to say about Matt Corral because he was very quiet. There wasn't much kind of on where he may end up. But I think a guy who could end up slipping into that third round. Again, I'll have to relook at what picks were there in the first round, but Matt Corral out of Ole Miss. Then number 2, Pickens, who I thought was going to be taken at 31, I think, or 30 to the Chiefs. And then they said George Karlaftis. I think Pickens is one of those extremely high upside receivers out of Georgia, 6'3", big bodied guy, go up and get it. And we saw the, kind of Treylon Burks, the two other guys like that, Treylon Burks and Drake London get taken before at 18 and 6 and 8, or it might have been 16 and 8. No, it was 18 and 16 and 8, excuse me. But George Pickens, a guy I think was going to be an absolute steal. Again, I would have projected him to be in that second round. But I'm a big fan of a big fan of him as a prospect. I think a team is going to be very lucky whoever ends up landing him in the draft this year in that second round. So I'll definitely be watching out for George Pickens. Then another receiver, Christian Watson of NDSU, kind of just like George Pickens, big body guy, 6'3", but his 40-time blazing speed. I believe he ran a 4.37. So I think he's going to be a very sought after guy at the beginning of that first round. I could see him going to the Bucs at 33. Again, a guy who kind of, as we got later, I was like, yeah, he probably won't end up going the first round, but there was always that potential at the Packers, Chiefs, and even Vikings pick. But he ended up not getting taken. And again, a guy who I think offers a massive upside athletically, same with George Pickens. So I'm definitely a big fan of him. Can't wait to see where he goes. And again, I think he'll be an absolute steal to wherever he goes in that second round, which is where I'll project him to go. Then we have Breece Hall, running back out of Iowa State, a guy who I really thought the Bills would go up and get. At the end of the day, there wasn't a very big need for running back for any of the teams in the first round. And again, we just really haven't seen a running back getting taken first round besides last year. And Najee Harris was significantly better than any of the guys this year. And maybe not significantly, but much better than any of the guys this year. Breece Hall, again, can kind of do it all. And I think a guy who could turn into that incredible downhill runner. But unfortunately wasn't taken. I think he'll be an absolute steal in the second round. And again, we have seen this happen over and over again. DeAndre Swift, Nick Chubb, guys who are taken in the second round, even Derrick Henry, who won Heisman. So I wouldn't be too worried if I were a Breece Hall fan. I think he'll get taken in that second round. But, you never know. Maybe he falls into the third. Then Other running back Kenneth Walker, my number one running back. I guess I kind of have them at 1A, 1B, him and Brees Hall out of Michigan State. Again, I think the best downhill runner in this draft. I think the best, guy at finding gaps and bursting out of them. He's, definitely just been a very, very explosive running back for Michigan State. Obviously, that game against Ohio State, or was it, Michigan was the one that highlighted it. But a really big fan of Kenneth Walker. I think a guy who will be an absolute steal, and a guy who I could see probably dropping into that third round. I would think Brees Hall will be taken before him, but I guess you'll never know. Then Sky Moore, wide receiver, West Michigan. Again, I don't have much to say on Sky Moore. Again, kind of lack of education on him as a prospect. It's actually not even that. I've watched Sky Moore film, but a guy who I'm just not sure where he fits. So I'll get you guys comment down below where you think he'll go. Again, just not a guy who I'm sure where he fits. And then another quarterback, Desmond Ridder out of Cincinnati, a guy who I thought would have been taken at 32 if the Lions had retained that pick, but they didn't. Again, kind of that Marcus Mariota-like prospect, just not as polished. Again, I think a team will be very happy to get him. And I will assume if he fell out of this first round, he'll be drafted in the second, third as a backup. But again, I think a guy who is slept on, and I think he'll be a great player at the next level, kind of has all the physical attributes, the biggest quarterback in the class, and obviously has that upside with mobility. So I think that'll definitely shoot him up draft boards tomorrow, and I think he'll be one of the early guys taken. But let's look at the defensive side of the ball, where I think the best player left available, and that's Andrew Booth out of Clemson. I don't know how he was not taken in the first round. I big fan of Andrew Booth. I think this guy could have been a top 15 pick. So the fact that he's here in the second round, I think he should be taken by the Buccaneers. That's what I would actually predict to be the first pick in the second round. But I mean, arguably the best ball skills in this class. So the fact that he's fallen out, I can't really tell you. He should be a first round selection. Then another guy who I think should have been Kyler Gordon out of Washington. Massive fan of Kyler Gordon. Very good in zone coverage. One of the best zone covering corners in this class. A guy who I could have seen going to the Buccaneers. Again, him and Andrew Booth. I think one of them should have been the pick for the Bengals. Ended up not being, but again, two very good corners who I would assume to be taken very early, day 2. Then Jaquan Brisker out of Penn State. Again, I think he'll be a guy who will be taken later, second round. Not much to say on him. And then Travis Jones out of UConn, a guy who I think could have been a late first rounder to, again, like the Bucks, like the Bengals. Again, very good run stopper, good again to the passer. I think he lacks a little bit of that size, which is why Devontae Wyatt and Jordan Davis were taken before him. And again, there has not been a massive need for defensive tackle for teams in this class. Then I have arguably another guy who could be taken very early, and that's Arnold Ebiketie out of Penn State. 2 Penn State players here on the defensive side of the ball. I think he's going to be an absolute steal to wherever he goes. Again, a guy who, potentially could have been taken over Jermaine Johnson for the Jets. I think he will be absolutely fantastic for whatever team he gets drafted to. So I'm very excited to see where he gets taken. I think a guy who offers a ton of upside as well. Then we have Jalen Petrie out of Baylor, safety, but I think he'll be a slot corner at the next level, which may be a reason why he fell, because of the uncertainty of where he will play. But I'm Jalen Petrie, a guy who I think will be very good at the next level, really good ball skills, a guy a ball hawk safety, but at 5'11", the question is, will that size translate into the next quarter, onto the next level? Then we have 2 linebackers. First, Nakobe Dean out of Georgia, who I think should have been a first round pick. Again, a guy who I think should have went to the Patriots, could have went to the Bucks, could have went to the Bengals, a later first round guy who, a guy who I thought would go in the later first round and ended up not going in that range. But again, really, really good. He's the classic sideline to sideline linebacker. Will give you 150% every single down. Really, really good and very safe tackler. A guy who I think, I think Devin Lloyd was considerably better than him, but I think Nakobe Dean's a very good football player. And I think a guy who will be taken at the top of that first round. So that's what I will leave you with. I think he's a guy who will be taken at the top of the first round, the second round tomorrow. Then Christian Harris out of Alabama, and you can tell how tired I am because I just completely butchered. I didn't even add a dash or a comma, but apologies. Again, Christian Harris, I think one of the best tacklers, would have been a first round pick and a high first round pick had it not been for the injury history and again, just the production this year for Alabama was not great. But I think think, again, a guy who will be a a very good player at the next level and was worthy of a first round pick, in my opinion, and just ended up not being one. So that's where I'm at with the defensive side of the ball. And again, there's a ton of players I'm missing. So please comment if I missed any significant players, because I'm sure I am. It's 12. But that was it for the video. Please make sure to subscribe, follow us on social media, and let me know what you guys think down below. Are you excited for the second round? And we are very excited to let you guys know about the rest of the stuff, and obviously more videos to come. Go check out our winners and losers. And thank you so much. We'll see you in the next one. Thanks so much for watching.